What's up, Eagles? Welcome to week 2.
Week 2 virtual school checking in Mr. Colvin's backyard. Mr. Howarth, where you at?
I'm here in my living room, Mr. Colvin. Boys and girls, this week we're actually going to learn about the Florida Constitution. Now, this will be the second Constitution we've learned about. Obviously, we've learned about the United States Constitution.
Which one's more important? Which one ranks higher, Mr. Howard?
Well, because of federalism, it tells us it goes the federal, then the state. So the United States Constitution applies to everybody, whereas the Florida Constitution only applies to people inside of Florida. Now, if you live in Georgia, but you come to Florida, you have to follow the Florida Constitution, even though you're not a resident here. So boys and girls, if you're ever traveling to other states, remember, you have to follow that state's constitution, and they are not all the same. So let's dive right in, Mr. Colvin, and look at the history of Florida's constitution. Well, Florida officially became the 27th state in the United States in 1845. Prior to that, we had flip-flopped between being a Spanish and a British colony, and we were briefly in American territory before becoming a state. Now, we are currently on our 6th constitution, which seems pretty like a pretty high number for constitutions, especially because in America, we only had one constitution for the last 200 plus years. But if you think about it, our first constitution was in 1845. Our second constitution was in 1860 when Florida actually quit being a part of the United States and joined the South and the Confederacy during the Civil War. So that would be a constitution number 2. After the Confederacy lost the Civil War and Florida got readmitted into the United States, that's our 3rd constitution. And then since then, we've had some pretty major upgrades, resulting in them just kind of throwing away the old constitution and totally creating a new one. Our most recent constitution was written in 1968. What makes that good is that it's written in a more modern language. So when you guys are reading the old Constitution from 1790 for the United States, you know, they wrote in that really hard to read cursive, and they use a lot of words that we really don't use in our modern language. The Florida Constitution is actually a lot easier to read. What do you got for us in the preamble, Mr. Colvin?
All right, just like at the federal level, the preamble is the opening paragraph. All right, so we've told you guys, think of the Constitution as a rule book, but also think of it as a long, long essay. All right, just like you would start an essay with an opening paragraph, you start the Constitution with an opening paragraph called the preamble. Both the federal and the Florida preamble both begin with the famous phrase, "We the people." All right, and they're both big and bold because they're trying to emphasize that here in America, we are the people who have the power, not the government. We give the government the power. All right. Just like, once again, just like at the federal level, there are 6 goals. The 6 goals of the state, though, are a little bit different. All right. Here is the preamble word for word. It says, "We, the people of the state of Florida, being grateful to Almighty God for our constitutional liberty." That is their first goal, being grateful to Almighty God. So they're saying, just be grateful that we're here. So that's the first goal that we have in Florida. The second goal is in order to secure its benefits. So we want to secure like the benefits of living in America. We want to perfect our government, make sure that our government's good. I mean, this is our 6th try after all. Ensure domestic tranquility, which is a famous phrase from the federal one. Domestic means home. Tranquility means peace. So peace and home. Maintain public order. So have like laws and punishment for those who break laws, and guarantee equal civil and political rights to all. All right, those are the 6 goals of the preamble, the Florida preamble, the opening paragraph. And like we said at the beginning, it actually contains religion in it, which is a little bit different than the federal Constitution. And that actually sparks a little controversy here and there, because some people say we should not have the words God in it. Some people say we should. So that's something that we do debate still to this day. And we remember, if we wanted to change it, we could just make an amendment to it, which we will talk about later. The next section is articles. Remember, articles are like the main paragraphs. At the federal level, there are 7 articles. At the state level, there are 11 articles. That what a lot of people don't realize is that the Florida Constitution actually is a lot longer than the federal Constitution. And one of the reasons why is because we have more articles. At the federal level, there are 7. At the state level, there are 11. We're also unique because we list the Declaration of Rights as an article. The federal level, the first 10 amendments are after the articles. At the federal level are the Bill of Rights, but we actually make our Bill of Rights, what we call Declaration of Rights, one of our articles. Article 3 then starts getting into the branches. We have a legislative branch, just like the federal level does. It's bicameral, which you guys know means 2 houses. There are 40 senators and 120 representatives. So those are the 2 houses. And you'll notice that those numbers are different than at the state level and the federal level. Just like at the federal level, we have an executive branch. Our executive branch is led by a governor instead of his president. And then underneath the governor, remember, the president has a cabinet and so does the governor. And the governor is there to kind of enforce the law. So we have the legislative branch to make the laws, and then we have the executive branch to enforce the laws. And then Article 5 creates the judicial branch. So we have once again, legislative, executive, judicial. What's different is that the judicial branch at the state level actually has 4 levels. And the acronym that we remember for that is SAC. That is Supreme for Supreme Court, Appeals for Appeals, Circuit for C for Circuit, and then C for County. And remember, it depends on what you do, depends on which level of bottom court you would go to. For small crimes like misdemeanors, it is county court. For big crimes like felonies, it is circuit court. So if I stole Mr. Howarth's son's pencil, I would go to county court. If I stole Mr. Howarth's son himself, then I would go to circuit court. And then also depends on what civil crime you do. For a small crime, anything what they consider less than $15,000 is considered small. That's county, and then anything over $15,000 is considered circuit. And then Article 6 after that creates the local governments like the city of Cape Coral, the city of Fort Myers, city of Bonita Springs, city of Lehigh. So within the side of the state, we can create local city government. So once again, remember, that's the whole concept of federalism. We have federal, state, local. All right. And then just like after the articles, we've got to be able to change because, as times change, we need to change our Constitution, which will lead into our amendments.
So remember, just like Mr. Colvin said, an amendment is
Article 11,
is a change to the Constitution. It is Article 11, so the last article of the Florida Constitution. Now, when we talked about the United States Constitution, we only had 27 amendments so far. But the Florida Constitution has over 100. There are tons of amendments because you actually interact with your state government way more than you interact with your local government. So the way I kind of teach my students this is which level of government do you interact most with? Well, think of police officers, all right? Do you see more city police or state police? Well, we see way more city police, right? That's the police officers that are in our neighborhoods. But the state troopers, we do see them. They're on the highways, on the interstate, stuff like that. So we do see them, just not as often as we do our local city police. And then the federal police would be the FBI. How many of you guys actually have met an FBI agent? Not many of us, right? So kind of your interaction with the government, you obviously interact with your local more than the state, and you interact with the state more than the federal. That's why we have way more state amendments than federal amendments. And actually, we have way more local laws than we have state laws. Now, to propose an amendment in the state of Florida, it can be proposed by the legislator or the citizen. So that bicameral legislature that Mr. Colvin was just talking about, they can propose laws, or a regular citizen can propose them. In order to ratify an amendment, it has to get 3/4 vote in both houses, so both the House of Representatives and the Senate. And then once both of them agree to that 3/4 vote, it then has to get put on a ballot and voted on by the citizens of Florida, and it must get at least a 60% support in order to actually be put on the Constitution. So with that, boys and girls, that is what we have for the Florida Constitution notes.
For notes, let's get to assignments, the thing you're really here for. Mr. Howard, let's show them what they got.
So as always, always, beginning of the week, look at your announcements, read it all the way through, okay? It'll have our office hours on there and our email addresses so that you can contact us. If you ever have questions about the announcements, you can always email me or Mr. Colvin, okay?
Or you can comment below right there.
Or yes, you can also comment in the stream. I forgot about that. Now, your classwork for this week, we have 2 assignments, and you will notice they are under the tab marked week of 4-6 to 4-10. Now, your first assignment I'll walk you through is a Civics 360 video guided notes. So when you click on that, you'll notice it's a link to a video, and it is a document for you to fill out. The document looks, well, of course, then it messed up on me, right? The document looks like this. I'm going to tell you now, since I made this worksheet, it got a little weird up here. So just make sure whenever you start typing, you type down here in the tables, okay? So you're just going to read the question and answer it based on evidence from the video.
For example, number 1, Mr. Howarth, what is the supreme law of the land? Let's see if you know. What's the supreme law of the land, Mr. Howarth?
I believe that would be the United States Constitution, right?
So, bam, see if it works for him. Type it in.
The United States. I know how to type. Is the supreme law of the land. And you notice I wrote that in a complete sentence because, boys and girls, you are mere weeks away from being 8th graders. So that's something you should learn how to do.
Did we need you to write 7 to 8 sentences explaining that? No, we just one sentence. Just make sure you have good, correct punctuation and grammar with it. When they're done answering all 10, and remember, there's a video that goes with it.
Yes, answer the questions based on the video, boys and girls. I promise you, the video is only 6 minutes long, so it is not a long assignment, okay? Your next assignment is guided notes, Florida Constitution. This is just like we normally have in class, where you have a guided notes reading and a worksheet. And just like we did for you last week, boys and girls, you'll notice that we have highlighted all the areas that you need to answer, okay? As always, whenever you are completing work on the Google Classroom, make sure you click on this view assignment. I'm going to move our heads out of the way. And make sure you click turn in here on the right side so that you can get full credit for the work you've done. Mr. Colvin, that's all I have for the students. Do you have anything?
No, just we miss you guys. You know, it's nice seeing you guys on our Zoom conferences, exchanging emails with you guys. You guys know Howarth and I, you know, we're here for you guys. If you need anything, just send us a quick email. Both of our office hours, we're making it simpler for both of you guys. Both of our office hours are 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So if you need anything, bam, we're going to respond instantly just like that because those are our office hours. But even after those times, you guys know that we will respond right away. So you need to send us an email, all right? We like hearing from you guys. We like seeing you guys on our Zoom conferences. We miss you guys. We've got to make the best of this. Since also, I guess we should kind of update the students since the last time we've seen them, since we've done these conferences, they've extended the quarantine, how long they want us to stay. So it's going to be like this, guys, for at least another 2 more weeks after this. But thinking at the earliest we can come back is May 1st. So that would be at the earliest.
Stay vigilant, kids. Stay safe, and we hope to see you soon.
Wash your hands.
Bye.